Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hookah With It. Today we're here to chat about books that might be, may not be, one-hit wonders. Let's get into it. So I have a stack of books right here from authors who have only published one thing. Some of them have only published one thing a while back and haven't published anything since, and then others have published things more recently that I'm hoping, fingers crossed, toes crossed, they will come out with more. So let's just dive right in. Here's one of my very favorite books of all time, and sadly she's only come out with one book. It's The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. It has been one of my favorite books for quite a while now. I'm just trying to see when she published it. 2012. My gosh, that was 8 years ago. This book meant so much to me. It's about a couple living in Australia. They are lighthouse keepers, essentially. And they've been struggling with infertility and miscarriage and just had a very, very rough time of it. And one day, rowboat comes to shore and there's a dead man in it and a living and breathing baby, and they take the baby in. There's all sorts of, issues that happen because of that decision, but it's amazing. And she hasn't written anything else in 8 years. Is she going to come out with anything else? Please say yes. M.L. Stedman, I'm waiting for you, because this book meant so much to me and I loved every second of it. So we'll see. We'll see. Also, if I mention a book here and you have heard that they are coming out with another book soon-ish or at all, please let me know in the comments below, because that would just make my whole day. The next book is something that came out fairly recently, actually. So I am assuming they will come out with another book. This is just me trying to cheer this person on. It came out in 2018 and it's Dear Mrs. Bird. I recently read this and loved it. It was such a wonderful surprise. This is a World War II book about a woman who goes to work at a newspaper. She thinks she's going to be this hard-hitting journalist on the front lines reporting about the war. Instead, she is helping out with a column called Dear Mrs. Bird, where women mostly, almost exclusively, write in to Mrs. Bird and say, here's my problem, can you help me? And Mrs. Bird is a very uppity kind of woman, and she only responds to the, respectable questions. And our main character writes back to the women that Mrs. Bird won't write to. And she crosses all sorts of lines, and that in and of itself sounds fluffy. As it goes on, it does get very, very much more heavy. This takes place in London during the Blitz, so you can imagine, and it was wonderful. So, AJ Pierce, if you are watching this, please come out with something else. I know it's only been 2 years since you came out with this, but I just hope that AJ Pierce is coming out with something. Fingers crossed. Next is a book that came out a long time ago. It's The Help by Catherine Stockett. I loved this book. Let's see when it was published. And this was published in 2009. So 11 years ago. Oh my gosh, that's so long ago, but I really enjoyed this. This is such a good summer read, I would say. This takes place in the South, and we follow a white woman named Skeeter, and she is also a journalist, and she's trying to make a mark for herself, and she decides to interview the black women who work as the help in her little town. So she has the woman who works for her family named Abilene. By the way, it takes place in 1962 in Mississippi. And several of her friends, and it's about each of the women, and I loved it. This might be something that I would like to actually reread, because it was just so good. Next is a book that just came out last year, but I am already ready. I am ready for the next book by Angie Kim. Miracle Creek I read early this year, and it's still, I think, my favorite book that I've read so far. It was so good on so many levels. This is about a group of people who are all connected because of this thing called a miracle submarine. Many people are using this medical equipment to combat things like autism in their children and infertility. And there is a explosion in the miracle submarine one day, and some people die, some people are injured. And we follow a court case of one of the mothers of an autistic boy who died, and she is being, she's on trial basically for his murder and the murder of several other people. So very heavy sometimes, but so interesting. I would say if you liked Little Fires Everywhere, I think you would like this. There's so much gray in here. It was amazing. So this is just a shameless plug to Angie Kim, who's still accepting awards, or like is still being nominated for awards because of this book. I just hope that she continues to write. This was fantastic. And more courtroom thrillers would be great, because I think she is a lawyer. She is the editor, or was the editor, of the Harvard Law Review, and practiced as a trial lawyer. So I would be happy if she just came out with a series. I mean, she can do whatever she wants, and I'll read it all. But it would be so cool if she came out with more courtroom, not necessarily thrillers. This is more of a courtroom drama, and you can do so many things, as she well knows. So, oh my gosh, so good. Please, Angie Kim, come up with more. So here's a book that has been a favorite book of mine, and I have plugged this so much on my channel. It's Come Thou Tortoise by Jessica Grant. Let's check when this was published. I think she does have a short story collection, which I haven't read, but I would like to. This also came out in 2009, 11 years ago. It was so good. Very hard to explain. It follows a woman who, like a young woman, whose father is injured and lives in a different city, so she's trying to reach him, and it is about her trying to sort through the mysteries surrounding his life and his death, but it's hilarious. So like it's coming across so strangely, and maybe that's why many of you haven't picked this up, because it's so hard to describe this book. I think she has some sort of mental illness, but you never know quite what it is. In any case, it's amazing, and I would love for Jessica Grant to come up with something else. She's also Canadian, so yeah, sip a coffee or it's gonna go cold. And it's morning. It's a Saturday morning when I'm filming this. So coffee is always necessary. Okay. Let's get back to business. Here's another one that came out fairly recently, but I just really need more, by Gail Honeyman. This is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and this is funny and moving and gut-wrenching sometimes and hopeful. This was published in 2017, so 3 years ago. We're always due for a Gail Honeyman. This is about a woman named Eleanor, and she is quirky in a bad way, kind of. She's like slightly unlikable and standoffish. And one day when she's walking home from work, she sees an older man fall in the street, and she and a guy from her IT department go and help him, and they all kind of become friends. And she has had a hard life. Like, she goes home on the weekends and drinks a lot. Like, not a glass or two of wine. This is a lot of liquor. And it's about Eleanor, and she's this wonderful onion that you are peeling back her layers and finding out why she is the way she is. And once you find out, I dare you not to like her. I dare you. Yeah, so that's Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and Gail Honeyman, please write anything. I hope that these people don't feel pressure. Like, a lot of these books were huge when they first came out. And as an author, if that's your first book, like, how are you supposed to top that? And I worry that people stop writing because of the discomfort of that, of the pressure of that. And I don't want them to feel pressure. I just want them to write for them, because these books were probably written for them as well as, you know, obviously trying to publish them. But all that to say, we want more from all of these authors, no matter what they do. So the next one was also published, well, this one was published a while back. 1997. Oh, wow. What is that, 23 years ago? Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I loved this book. I read it 2 years ago, and it was one of my favorite books of that year. This follows a young woman who, this follows a young girl who is sold by her father, who is very poor and very old. Her mother is dying. He sells her to this group of people who are going to train her to become a geisha. And it is about her experience coming up in that world. And there's a love story in here. And you know me, I don't like love stories. Please, no. But I loved it in this book. So that's Memoirs of a Geisha. And I don't know if Arthur Golden is going to write anything else. That's a long time ago. But I mean, a huge book, right? Again, the pressure. I wonder. Next is a book that many of you guys read because of me. I did a video recently about the books that people who watch my channel, you guys have read because of me, and this was like the #1. I'm going to link that in the description box below, but it's Tangerine by Christine Mangan. Now, this wasn't published a long time ago. I want to say 2 years. Yeah, 2018. So she has plenty of time to come out with something new. But Kristen Mangan writes beautiful gothic fiction. This is a gothic mystery book, I would say. It was marketed as a thriller, and it is not a thriller. It's not, but it's gothic, and it's historical fiction too. This takes place in the, I think it's the 50s, and we follow a woman who moves to Tangier with her husband, and her old college roommate shows up. They did not part on the best of terms. She shows up and she's like, I'm here, I'm staying. And so she feels like she has to like bring this woman into her life again, and is uncomfortable with it. And then her husband goes missing. Oh, what happens next? You have to read it to find out. So good. And still, I think this is my favorite cover of all time. I know it's simple, but I really love it. Okay, 2 more. This next one, I think there's a movie coming out pretty soon. It's called The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn, and this was published in 2018 and was a huge book. A.J. Finn has a lot of drama surrounding him. I did a whole video about my take on the drama. I will link that in the description box below as well. But this is a thriller. Very chunky thriller. Like, that's abnormally big for a thriller. 400 pages is big for a thriller. And it follows this woman who doesn't go outdoors at all. She sees a event happen in her neighbor's home, and she feels like she has to get involved. She has to call the cops. She has to find out what happened. It's this shocking thing. And for someone who stays inside all day, drinks, watches old black and white movies, this is huge. And she involves herself, and it's the fallout from that. It's very good. I really enjoyed it. I know that this is a bit of a Marmite one, but it was huge a couple of years ago, and I would love to see more by A.J. Finn, even with the drama. I would. And last but not least is The Girls by Emma Cline. This is kind of her take on the Manson family. they never say it's about the Manson family. Let's just first check when this was published. 2016. That's a while ago now. 4 years. And this is about a woman who kind of followed around the Manson family. She was a teenager at the time, and it's about the girls that she sees that she's so totally intrigued by who are part of the Manson family. And it's about her summer involving herself with them. It also kind of follows a little bit the terrible things that they did. But what I loved about this book was how atmospheric it was. I could feel the grime from these people. Like, these people all live in this one, I don't know what they call them, like a commune kind of vibe. Like, they just live all together, and they're very dirty, and they rarely bathe, and it's just grimy. And I felt like taking a shower while reading this, and it was wonderful. So I would love to see more by Emma Cline, that's for sure. So those are all of the books that I would love to see more of from these authors. Let me know in the comments below. Can you think of any authors that have only really written like one book that you would love to see more from them? I would love to know in the comments below. Maybe I haven't read them and then I'll have to. I hope you guys are doing well. In the description box, I'm getting much better at including things like my Amazon wish list, my Goodreads page, my Instagram. So head on over and follow me there, and we will chat soon. Bye, guys.